Hello, adventurers. My name's Tyler.
And I'm Richard.
On today's episode, we're diving fist first into the changes made to the monk from the recently released Unearthed Arcana, Player's Handbook Playtest 6. Welcome to True Strike.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. Today we are back in the studio to discuss the changes to the monk class. That's right, we're diving fist first, as Tyler said. Double fist, pop, pop.
Don't blame this on me. don't put this one on
you.
me.
This is all you.
No.
So yeah, we talked about this briefly before, that we wanted to separate Monk to talk about it since there were a lot of changes to it, and it was the first time Monk had actually been touched on in the playtest.
Finally.
Yeah. We did want to do this one with our guest, Garrett Phillips, but we had some unfortunate mic complications, so we're going to see about revisiting it at a later date. But for now, we did want to talk about this because it's still fresh on everybody's mind, and everybody's talking about monks right now.
Rightly so.
Yeah, which is good, because monks need to be talked about.
Mm-hmm. Finally. You know, I wouldn't have agreed with you if you had said that in, you know, the current state of things with the 2014 edition. However, yeah, it's new, it's fresh, it's some, you know, I don't, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm not sure they're there yet. This is, you know, one of the big reasons I wanted Garrett on. You know, I know we really wanted to get him on because he's got some strong feelings about this, as do we, but, you know, this is Garrett's thing.
Yeah, so I feel like I already know your answer because you basically laid it out, which was
great.
My question was going to be, was what do you feel about this iteration of Monk where we're at today?
I feel like the class as a whole is maybe better than the 2014 version. I love the subclasses.
Okay, fair enough.
I like the idea that, you know, if the class itself isn't strong, you can have strong subclasses to pull it up. But I still think the monk as a whole needs some work.
Okay. So I was super excited because I've been wanting to play a monk for a little while, but in its current state, I didn't really want to play a monk. Because I knew that any game that we've been playing more recently wasn't going to be a long haul style of a game. And we're looking at shorter term games, and I couldn't see myself playing and enjoying a monk in a shorter term game.
Sure.
So I was really hoping that this was going to be one of the main things that was going to be addressed in this new playtest here. And for me, a little underwhelmed. I think it's a step in the right direction. And I think that some of their ideas here are good, but I don't think this is it. I think they have kind of missed the mark here. And I think they could have gone a lot farther with some of these changes. And I think some of the stuff is in the right vein of things, but too little too late for some of these abilities and changes.
And you kind of touched on something, you know, they didn't go far enough. I kind of wish they had just went back to the drawing board for most of this and built us a new monk class from the ground up, and maybe left in some, you know, some favorites like Stunning Strike and stuff like that. But it seems like minor tweaks, and not all of them are for the best.
No, exactly. And I think that would have been fantastic. I know that probably would have ruffled a lot of feathers, but it would have been very interesting to see them just nuke the monk class and start from the ground up.
How many feathers would have ruffled? And we've seen that they're not afraid to do that. Look at Druid. They've borderline rebuilt Druid twice in these playtests.
True enough. Yeah, I think it would serve monk better to start fresh. But what we've seen here, like I said, it is kind of a step in the right direction, and I'm hoping that they keep stepping.
Yeah,
because we need more steps.
More
steps. Step of the Wind is definitely better now.
Oh, it's so good.
But we need more.
We'll get to that soon.
We need more steps.
Well, let's go ahead and get through monk first, and then we'll tear it apart as we go along. At first level, as a monk, and this is, you know, just your base class, you've got your martial arts and such with your unarmed strikes and simple weapons. Okay. All good so far, right? Now, what's interesting here is your martial arts die is a D6 now instead of a D4. And at, I believe it's 17th level, it'll go up to a D12 instead of a D10. That I like a lot. My issue here is that 17th level is a very high level, and most campaigns are not going to get there.
So far away. Yeah. I think that it's a good step to increase that. But like you said, I think it's a little bit too little too late. It's not scaling quite as well as pretty much any other class as far as weapons and scaling of, actual weapons.
Right.
Now, I get that, you're getting more unarmed strikes like as a monk, right? So they're trying to equalize the damage out. I don't think it's high enough though.
Yeah. Now another thing is monk weapons are gone. So you used to be able to use your monk weapon die, in tandem with your monk weapons and get some like good damage output right there. This martial arts die is really only tying into your unarmed strikes now, where they kind of like get away with doing that is now monks get weapon mastery, a la, fighters and your paladins and your other martial archetypes, stuff like that. Okay. The weapon mastery is awesome. I just, I want to see that damage curve and see what it actually looks like in practice. And are they really just pushing monks to be, unweaponed all the time now?
And it feels like they are, which I'm okay with though. Like, I'm okay with that direction as long as it's handled properly.
Yeah.
And they get the damage output necessary for that to be a viable option.
Right. Of course, you've got your unarmed defense, while you're not wearing any armor or wielding a shield. Your base armor is your 10 plus dex plus wisdom. That's still there. I had something I wanted to bring up with this, where your hit die is still a D8. It is not a D10 like other, martial combatants. And the idea that a cleric or a paladin even can come in with, heavy armor and a shield and easily get an 18 or 19 even for their AC, and then still have the freedom to put their points in something else, of course, your strength for, wearing the heavy armor, but after that, you're free to do as you wish. Whereas a monk, if you want a high AC, you have to go dex wisdom.
Yeah, you pretty much have no choice there.
Right. And then on top of that, you have less health. You just do. You have a smaller hit die. So over the course of a campaign, you are just going to have less health. And you can't even take your second highest score and put that in Constitution like you could as a cleric or paladin. So not only do they have easy high AC, but they can also bump up their health even more with a high con, where, at best, it could be your third highest if you're trying to really play that game. So you are going to be up in people's faces 95% of the time. We're talking unarmored, armored defense and your unarmed strikes, stuff like that. You are in the thick of it for the most part with less health and possibly less AC. It's funky to me. I wish there was some sort of middle ground where, okay, I get that a monk can be squishy. They're not wearing armor. They're just a humanoid or a person or whatever. But also make it harder to hit them. And I get with your points, your discipline points, you can use patient defense and give yourself, or give the, enemy disadvantage of hitting you. But I don't know. I'm trying to figure out a way to make this make sense in a way that's flavorful other than just having a crazy high AC and then less health. But if that's what it takes, should it be your wisdom dex plus proficiency? And then it would scale too, but then does it get too high for your AC, but then still being pretty squishy?
Yeah,
I don't know where the balance is.
Really weird. Patient defense is like the easiest answer. right?
But you're playing that game of balancing your discipline points with all the other cool things you're
that's
doing.
the problem, is that patience defense is costing you that discipline point. And they also made the changes, which we're going to talk about shortly, to Step of the Wind, which it's just weird though, because it seems like they're kind of like making the monk look like almost roguelike, where they want you to jump in and pop and then jump out, right? And then jump back in, which
we'll get to this even more with the subclasses.
Yeah, and exactly. And it could work, but the way discipline points are right now and how at lower levels are such a finite resource, it's not a viable way to play, because you're really going to want to use those discipline points to maximize your effectiveness in combat, because we've already established that it's not great with your just unarmed strikes, even with their die increased. So you're going to be using these discipline points to really maximize your turn, for flurry of blows to get more hits in, for stunning strike and everything like that. So you're not going to be using these discipline points to jump out of combat, or to make it as much to make yourself harder to hit. And therein lies the problem, is that they're built for being up in your face, but then they have such low hit points and they're so easy to hit, you're just going to get pummeled into the ground.
Yeah, and I do like Step of the Wind. I like this change. It's you still get the extra, you get the dash, you get the extra movement, but now you get the disengage thrown in there as well for free, for the same cost of discipline points.
Yeah.
That is great. I like that change a lot. If you're going to use Step of the Wind, awesome. You just made it better. I have no issue there. I guess the issue does come from what you pointed out, like how are they expecting you to play? They want you to get in, get out.
Yeah,
and not giving
mixed
you
signals here.
Yeah.
Do they want you to play an in and out character like the rogue, or do they want you to stand your ground and fight?
And okay, sure, the rogue, it's disengage, or it's dash. But and this is both, but the rogue isn't burning a consumable essentially. It's something they can do every turn as a bonus action.
Yeah.
Let's get deeper into it.
So I guess we should point out that with martial discipline now, we're no longer referring to them as key points. So now they are discipline points. Not a change that really matters. I mean, it's just a more generalized term. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, call them key points. Call them discipline points. Discipline points is fine.
Absolutely. That's the direction they wanted to go, and people seemed okay with it. So yeah, of course, there's no issue there. Just a little bit of wording. Just got to make sure I word it the same way every time in my games, which I don't think it'll take long to adjust. Now you get your discipline points back after you finish a short or a long rest, which I do find interesting as well, because in a game where through these playtests we've seen that they're moving away from short rest, even the warlock away from short rest.
Yeah.
Now you're the monk, you're the character that's pushing for the short rest.
Yeah. After every match you want to take a short rest.
Right. And why? She couldn't. Hey guys, I need an hour to get my 3 discipline points back at low level and stuff like that, but everyone else, we're feeling fine. Well, okay, I guess I'm going to the next fight without any discipline points. There's some stuff later on, there's some other ways to get them back in less time, like a minute. We'll get to that. I believe that's one of the subclasses. But I don't know, I almost feel like that should be baked in too.
Yeah.
Instead of, having it be a special ability. So we've got another thing I'm not sure I like this version of as much as the original, but we have a slight redesign to deflect missiles at 3rd level. You can use your reaction to deflect range attacks against you that deal bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage. When you do so, the damage you take from the attack is reduced by 1d10 plus your dex mod, plus your monk level. Okay. Now where it gets weird. If you reduce the damage to 0, you can spend 1 discipline point to redirect the attack toward another creature. If you do so, choose a creature within 60 feet of yourself that isn't behind total cover. That creature must succeed on a dex saving throw, or take damage equal to 2 rolls of your martial arts die. Damage is the same type dealt by the attack. Previously, it was an attack roll. Now, they got that saving throw. And I'm not sure how I feel about the, 2 rolls of your martial arts die.
Yeah,
Like,
generally
2d6
speaking,
starting off with, I guess.
yeah, 2d6. It's going to be a slight increase in damage.
I guess
think
depends.
above average.
I think it depends on the scenario, depending on what you're deflecting.
Yeah, it could depend on what you're deflecting, but I don't know. I saw it as a kind of a slight buff, I guess.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, well,
Saving throw versus attack roll, though.
yeah, saving throw versus attack roll.
I think you're less likely to succeed.
Well, I think that's just kind of how things are moving these days, though. We're moving into more saving throws and less attack rolls on things.
This is also one, though. Like, if we take, and this is completely in my opinion, nothing else. If we take the mechanics out of it, the idea that it's a saving throw instead of an attack from the monk just feels weird.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from on that, because it should, I guess it feels like it should be an attack roll.
Like, you're already making
making the roll
to reduce the damage, spending a point to throw it back, and then whether it hits them or not is out of your hands.
Yeah.
It's up to the DM now and their roll.
Well,
and it's cool to make a couple really good rolls in a row, and then you roll a hit too, and you really feel like you took this bolt from a crossbow and redirected it back at somebody else.
Well, maybe it's also that they're taking all of the rolling from your side of the table too, because it's cleaning things up a little bit more, because now you're making your rolls, and then it's not just you rolling dice for the next 5 minutes and then telling us the outcome. It's, it's shouldering one of the rolls back to the DM now.
As someone running games, roll against me. Roll to hit me. I don't want to. All right. And what's the save DC? Okay. What's their bonus? They get a +3 to this. Okay. What was? Oh, sorry. Meets it, beats it. It's nice for you to be like, and that's a 19 to hit. And I'm like, you hit. You did it. Good job. There's more steps here, at least in conversation. Now, maybe that's just our table and the fact that I roll games poorly, but I prefer the other way. We'll see. Now you've level 4. You've got your ability score improvement. Your slow fall. Nothing crazy here. Your slow fall, of course, is you can use your reaction whenever you're falling to reduce any damage you take from the fall by an amount equal to 5 times your monk level. I always love this ability. Still love this ability.
Yeah, no, it's one of my favorite things, I think, as far as like monk flavor is considered.
Yeah, it's super neat.
Yeah. The 5th level, you get your extra attack. 5th level also.
Mm-hmm.
This is the big one, and this is Stunning Strike. So Stunning Strike is taking a big hit in this UA. Now you spend your discipline point to attempt a Stunning Strike. If you fail, that's it. You don't get to keep burning points to try to keep stunning. I don't think I like this.
Can you see my shocked face?
How do you feel about it?
I feel like this was the obvious conclusion. 100%. This was the thing that I was certain was going to happen, and then I thought everything else was going to be buffed to offset it. What ended up happening, I think, was that they nerfed potentially the most broken ability, and then did not buff everything else enough to compensate.
For it. See, I don't know. I always hear that argument that Stunning Strike is the most broken ability in the game. And I have definitely seen games where Stunning Strike was painful to watch, because in a scenario where it's you and one other target, like, or the group versus one target.
It's the boss battles.
It becomes an extreme lockdown kind of a situation. But every time that I've ever seen this is at the higher levels, because I think that was the thing about Stunning Strike, which kept it in check, was that it wasn't just a free thing. This was a consumable. You were using what was formerly your key points, which is now your discipline points. So it wasn't something that you could just do infinitely. If you missed it and you needed to hit it, then you would use those points to do it again. And there's an end of the road there. It wasn't just you keep doing it forever. And it's not without consequence either. Because what we discussed earlier with monks is that, what are you doing with those points on your turn? Are you going to use them to do patient defense, or use them to do more damage output, whatever it may be? So now you're sacrificing all of your other stuff
Yep.
to be able to make sure this stunning strike gets off.
Yep.
And that means you're sacrificing literally everything that your class is built on. So you're like, I'm going to give up all the cool stuff about my class just so I can stun you and then just slap fight you and then let my party do its thing. So you're giving up everything on you. And at lower levels, I don't think that's an issue at all. The only time that I've seen it be an issue or seen it be kind of cringy is at the higher levels when they do have more discipline points. And you can walk up and, you know, like, oh, I am going to stunning strike you this turn. It may take me all 7 of my discipline points, and I might miss 6 out of those. One of them, I'm going to get that last one. I don't know. I think there may have been a better way to approach it than this, which is just bombing the ability into almost non-existence, I feel.
I think you've touched on my point of view a little bit there. And that is, okay, well, this takes away from the other cool abilities, the flavor, what makes me a monk. Well, if you can walk in with your party, and you've got a party of 3, okay, well, whatever. Party of 4, party of 5. The more party members you have, the bigger deal this is, where, yeah, what's optimal for you in every fight against single target especially, but any fight with a obvious threat, is to stun them as fast as possible so that your party can nuke that person. And they can easily do so, or at least could, because, you know, advantage on them, and they're failing like saves and stuff like that. You can just go to town on them. And they were stunned until the end of your turn, so that on your next turn, you would have advantage on attacks against the person that you stunned the previous turn.
The previous turn. Yeah.
Now they're stunned until the start of your turn. So that's a second nerf right there. So if we're talking about the flavor of what makes you a monk, your step of the winds, your patient defense, ooh, do you want to waste those stunning strike points when you could stun, potentially? Give advantage to your whole party and severely hinder this opponent if with one lucky hit. And sure, it's a con save, and it's the pretty easy save for the most part to pass, but your DM's not going to roll hot forever. So when they do fail that, and you're just trying over and over and over again, it's inevitable that eventually you're gonna land it.
Yeah, but at what cost?
So now you've got to, as a DM, if you have a monk in your party, you have to build combats around the fact that you have a monk, because you have to plan for the inevitability that they stun you. Now you have got multiple, NPCs or baddies that you weren't originally going to have, or you've just straight up like given your monster immunity to stun, or all these other things to try to like circumvent the issue. Or you don't do that and they nuke your enemy, or you do that and they never actually get the stun off, and then now you've built an encounter that's too strong against the party because you're prepared for your person to be stunned, and they never are.
And they never are stunned.
And with it being once a turn, it's totally still possible, but it's not inevitable. So I don't think you have to balance so heavily against the party in that scenario, because it might happen, and if it does, that'll be a cool moment. Versus, don't worry guys, I'm going to stun the next 4 hits, or I'm going to try, and then hopefully I'll get it. And I'm going to get mad if I don't, because I just burned all these key points.
Yeah, you burned all your points. Yeah,
but I didn't even land it. I don't know. I think it gives, with it only once, it almost pushes you to be like, oh, I tried on this, I whiffed there, but I'm going to use another key point and I'm going to do this instead. Because you don't feel like you have to save your discipline points for stunning. Kind of like a paladin in your smite slots. Like, oh man, I could healing word you, but that's a lot of extra damage I could do to this guy if I just save my smite slots.
Yeah, it's a tough one, I think, because like I said, I do see that stunning strikes was a broken ability.
Potentially.
And they needed to do something to rein it back in. I'm just concerned that they reined it too hard.
What would you have done different?
Well, that's the thing, is that like the cap of 1 per turn, I don't know, it seems harsh, especially when you consider everything else that has happened with this class. Because I guess I'm looking at it through a lens where it's not just Stunning Strike, because there's a lot of other changes that happened here. Namely, we didn't really get a huge bump in discipline points up until way later levels. So at our lower levels, you're still really heavy on this resource management thing, which is where I said that, like, most of the time the Stunning Strikes didn't seem overpowered in the lower levels because, you know, it was already a limited resource anyway. You know, if you only have 3 key points, you know, you're probably not going to burn them all on a Stunning Strike because you don't want to be absolutely useless for the rest of the combat. So I guess maybe this is a good change if everything else in the class also balances out a little bit and makes the class a little bit more viable.
That's where I am.
And I don't think that the rest of the class is there yet. So I think that this hurt it overall unless some of the other stuff changes. I think that if we adjust some more stuff, then it will seem more balanced and fair across the board.
I think, yes, I completely agree with all that. This is, like I said, this is the inevitable change I saw coming. But I also expected everything else to be enhanced more, and it wasn't. So this hurts more in the meantime. Yeah. Now, like, they could have nerfed this literally into the ground. It could have been, oh, if you succeed on a saving throw against stun, you're immune to the stun for the next 24 hours. Like, God, there's all these things they could have done. Yeah. From where it was to this, I don't really see what else they could have changed, except maybe changed this. No, because I'll say if they changed what kind of saving throw, that would have been an unintentional buff.
I think Con is right, because it's just easy enough to fail, right? And the con save is something that is, I think, going to be more widely applied to everything. So I think that that's fine. I just worry about, like, you know, like I haven't played a monk yet, not in, you know, any of the more recent games. I've played a monk long ago, before any of these changes, obviously, or before 5th edition monks. But when I look at this, I feel like, say, at level 5, the chances of me attempting Stunning Strike more than once in a combat are pretty slim, right? Because I'm looking at how many key points I have at level 5. And I don't want to just continue to waste resources in a con save that could potentially be really easy for the DM to pass. So for me, you know, like, thinking about it, not actually playing it, right? It seems like I'm going to err less towards using Stunning Strike and more towards using those key points to do other things.
Something interesting about that is, like, okay, like you said, you know, you've only got so many at level 5, right? One of the buffs that I want them to change, like to throw into the base class, is make it easier to get your points back faster after combats. Especially at these, you know, level. I don't see any reason to not go into every combat with full points. I just don't. That's the fun flavor of your class. And everyone else is kind of getting away from these short rests and stuff anyway. Like I said, one of the subclasses lets you get back your points after a minute rest.
Well, that's actually a 7th level feature, period.
Oh, is it really?
Heightened metabolism.
Oh, I totally thought that was a subclass.
At level 7.
I want that lower.
Yeah, you get to spend at least 1 minute resting. You can give yourself all the benefits of a short rest, which is really good, because then you get your key points back.
I absolutely thought this was open hand.
No, but at level 7, it's too late.
I want it earlier.
It's way too late. And we've actually had this discussion about monks before this UA even dropped. And it came up because I wanted to play a monk in an upcoming campaign, and actually wanted to play a monk for a one-shot as well. And both times that I was looking at it, the monk in the long-term campaign would have worked out okay, and I would have been able to play it, and it would have been good. But the monk in the one-shot was going to be horrible, because everything that I wanted to do with my monk, everything that I wanted to experience with my monk and play with, I was never going to get, because we were going to possibly be capping out that one shot at like level 4. And at level 4, I'm still a child
Yeah.
as far as comparatively to other classes. I don't get any of my cool subclass features. I don't get anything really of substance, and I'm still kind of useless, so to speak, at level 4. They haven't fixed this in this UA. If I don't see heightened metabolism until level 7, it's a cool ability.
Yes.
That's a level 7 ability. And at that point, we're already starting to get more discipline points, so it's becoming less of an issue.
Yeah.
And it's already starting to fix itself, and it solves no problems. Whereas if you bump that back a couple of levels, now it's a really good thing. And who's it hurting?
I don't know if it's the fix, but I just, at the minimum, if we have 5 minutes and this is going to print, just swap slow fall in this, and I'd be happy.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't need slow fall at level 4. It's nice to have, but
yeah,
it's not
slow fall is
game-changing.
really nice to have at level 4. But I mean, height metabolism at level 4 is legitimately game changing.
Yes.
Especially if you're playing in a game that is not role play heavy. So like I can see this working and everything like that in a game where you're only going to have like one combat for the night, right? So it's a heavy role play. You're having one inconsequential combat that's not that big of a deal that you can dump everything into,
right.
And then you're going to spend the rest of the night role playing. But if you happen to be at a table where you're going to have a nice little trek down the long road, and it's going to be a 4-day, and every night there's a chance for an encounter. By the second encounter, you're spent.
Yeah.
And you're not doing anything, and you're not doing anybody any good unless you force the party to stop and do this rest, Whereas if you were to have something like heightened metabolism 2 levels earlier or 3 levels earlier, as you're proposing, like, who's it hurting? Like, how is it breaking the game for you to be able to take that, one time per long rest, get a short rest,
right? It's just a faster short rest.
Exactly. It's not like you have a lot of hit points anyway, right?
That's another reason why I think that's a buff to get it at a good intentional buff at that level.
I think it's at level 7 is a mistake. I think it's far too far down the road. I think that needs to be bumped up. It's a really great ability. I love it. Heightened metabolism is awesome.
Right.
I just think that it's far too late in the gains to be of consequence.
Now, hopping back to level 6, you get empowered strikes, where now your damage can, your choice, do force damage or normal damage type.
Yeah.
Instead of just magical damage.
Instead of just magical damage.
Now you can hit ghost.
Force damage.
No, it's force damage.
Yeah.
One of the least, defended against damage types in the game. I like it. I'll take it.
No, that's good.
And the fact that you can turn it off, on or off, whatever. Like, it's fun.
Yeah, I got no problem with that. That's neat.
You already hit level 7 with the heightened metabolism.
Unarmored movement is now acrobatic movement.
Woo!
Yay! Oh, actually, acrobatic movement now has the additional ability to move along vertical surfaces and liquids without falling during movement. So it's actually pretty cool.
Something I hate, actually, speaking of things I don't like about this. At 10th level, you get your self-restoration. And I'm just gonna read this verbatim from the book. Through sheer force of will, you can use a bonus action to remove one of the following conditions from yourself. Not a discipline point, a bonus action. Okay. Charmed, frightened, or poisoned. In addition, foregoing food and drink doesn't give you levels of exhaustion. Okay, seems neat. Design note, disease. Which, of course, we all know they're just getting rid of disease at this point. But design note, in the 2014 versions of Monk and Paladin, both classes gained immunity to disease. That immunity has been removed from the playtest versions of the classes because the word disease doesn't have a solid meaning in the rules. And for years, the rules have delivered disease-like effects through the poison condition. The game will continue to use the condition in that fashion. Okay, neat. Monks just used to be immune to poison condition and poison damage.
Yeah.
And there's nothing here for poison damage. So now you just went from not taking poison damage, which was awesome, to, you totally take poison damage. You can just use a bonus action to get rid of the poisoned condition after you've already been poisoned.
Yeah, I think it really only matters in combat because you're sucking up that bonus action.
Sure, yeah, it matters in combat, but also in the advocate for monks, you just straight up used to be immune to something.
Yeah, no, I mean,
and
I
now
get
it's gone.
I think that it was
like, you're not even half damage. You were just straight up you just straight up can take poison damage now and you couldn't before. Or you could like show up to the bar and like throw back a vial of poison and everyone's like, oh my god, that's awesome, and you're like, yeah, it goes down easy, friends.
I'm so pure.
Yeah.
You have no idea.
It just comes out like fresh water. I don't like, come on guys, you already nerfed stunning strikes. Why are you going here and you're taking this away too? It's just another thing. I get like half a step up with something cool, like, hey, let's make Step of the Wind a little bit better. And then you're like, ooh, hope they don't notice we've completely made them vulnerable to poison.
Well, so for me, it started off with the poison, like reading that, and I was like, oh, that sucks. That was a cool thing, like you said, just to be able to walk into a tavern and, knock back poison and not be affected by it. But if you look, it's more than just that, because they actually took away a lot of the flavor things that Monk got, right?
Yeah.
So you do not, the purity of body is now changed. So you're just not innately immune to poison and disease. But you also don't get the tongue, right? So there's no more just understanding all languages and everything like that, right? So that kind of goes away. There was the timeless body ability, which was that once you get to a certain level, you no longer age essentially at the same rates. Right. You can't be aged magically at all. You could still die of old age, but you no longer have to eat or drink, period.
Yeah.
Right. So, and these were all like, not like game breaking things, I guess you'd say, but more like flavorful things.
And that's another weird thing here. Like, okay, in addition, you foregoing food and drink doesn't give you levels of exhaustion. Does that mean you can forgo them forever? Mechanically?
So, mechanically, no. It just says that, like, I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing because it almost says it like it did, but it doesn't explicitly.
You don't get exhaustion.
You don't
points
get exhaustion points
anymore.
anymore.
So I'm not going to be taking all these issues that would eventually just kill me. But now your DM's just gonna be like, yeah, dude, but you still gotta eat, right?
Yeah, but you still gotta eat.
You still gotta eat.
Whereas before,
well, what are you gonna do to me?
it was straight up. It was like, you don't have to eat, you don't have to drink. You're timeless body now. You're not aging at the same rate as everybody else around you. And like I said, these weren't, I guess, depending on the campaign you were running, that and things like the Tongue of Sun and Moon that just lets you, read minds and understand all spoken languages. It wasn't something that was necessarily going to break the game. It was super convenient, obviously, but it was more along the line of flavor. Same thing with purity of body, because it takes a bonus action. So it's not like you're using your discipline points or anything like that. If you're outside of combat and you trip a trap or something like that, it's not that big of a deal. You're going to bonus action, it's gone.
Right.
So it's it's not like it's taking it away completely, but it's taking away the flavor of it. And that's one of the things that, like, I kind of felt got watered down a little bit, was the flavor of Monk, and it started with that.
It's weird. Level 13, something that, yet again, I think comes way too late. Deflect energy. You can now use your Deflect Missiles feature against ranged attacks that deal any damage type, not just bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing. One of the examples here was Eldritch Blast. Okay, I'm 13th level. And I'm going to deflect one of your Eldritch Blast.
One of your Eldritch
beams.
Blasts, yeah.
What about the other beams?
Yeah.
Like, it's cool. It's super cool. The flavor's fun. And yeah, but it's... Why? Why do I have to wait till 13th level? How many campaigns have we played where we've been 13th level?
Yeah, it needs to be baked into the lower level. I don't think it's game breaking either.
No, yet again, this could be a 7th level.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. It's way too high as it is. It's way too high as it is.
Maybe there's some cool, like, I don't know. There's some cool attack, right? Like, I'm trying to think of something.
Well, it's weird because, like, you're as a monk, they want you to be in face, right? So they don't want you to be in the back. So really, this whole deflect missiles and deflect energy is going to be like first round combat before you really get up in somebody's face, is really the only time that it's going to come into effect. And I don't think that it's hurting anybody really to allow you to do this at an earlier level. I just think that level 13 is far too long for you to be really concerned with these range attacks and how it's going to break the game. And actually, reading that and talking about energy and ranged attack, I completely forgot about something with Stunning Strike that I had actually made a mark here.
What's
I highlighted it. So I don't know how much you read that, but the very beginning of Stunning Strike, once per turn, when you hit a creature with a simple weapon or an unarmed strike.
Yeah.
So Stunning Strike crossbow.
Yes, 100%. That's a cool buff.
I don't think that's real.
I
They're not leaving that in.
bet they do.
No, this is range smite all over again. This is crossbow smiting, and I think it's a. I had it highlighted, and I'm like, they don't mean that.
I bet they do.
I don't think they mean that.
I think they do.
I don't think they do.
We're so negative on it because everything else they did was negative. But I think it was intentional because it's once a turn.
Yeah, but
so once a turn.
Thematically, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it does. You're
like,
you
I'm gonna throw this.
No, if you get shot in the in the temple with a crossbow bolt, I'm gonna be stunned. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's intentional.
There's cool flavor ways, even if it's a big guy, like just like the angle of the dangle and where you manage to hit him, and I hope they leave this because everything else was worse.
I hope they leave it. Actually, no, I don't. I hope they remove that.
Why?
Because I think it's silly.
No,
and I
think that one's fun.
I don't think it was necessary or not necessary. I don't think it was on purpose.
Well,
I think this is the situations they ran into with the crossbow smiting.
That they thought they would like. That was intentional.
It was. I don't think it's going to stick around. But yeah, I don't know why. It made me look back at Stunning Strike and saw the highlight, and I was like, I completely forgot about that. So yeah, sorry to go off on that tangent.
No, that's a good point.
Back to Stunning Strikes again. But yeah, back to Deflect Energy, level 13.
All right, we're just going to read some of these, right? At level 14, you get Discipline Survivor. Your physical and mental discipline grant you proficiency in all saving throws. Additionally, whenever you make a saving throw and fail, you can spend 1 discipline point to re-roll it and take the second result. Neat.
Cool.
Perfect Discipline. At level 15, whenever you roll initiative, you get 4 expended DP.
Yeah.
If you have none remaining.
Yes, that's the thing, is if you have none remaining. And you kind of touched on this earlier, which was I should just go into every combat with full discipline points.
Yes.
This is cool.
Or half.
I'm not going to knock it because it's actually good. But it's still, we're talking level 15 here.
This doesn't, you know what? I would be as brazen as to call you, you're wrong.
I'm not saying it's...
This isn't cool.
I'm saying it's not horrible.
No, but it's not cool. It is horrible. At level 15.
Yeah, its placement is bad.
Back 4/15 of your possible DP because you ran to 0.
Yeah, but it's better than nothing. Because at this point, you've already used heightened metabolism, right? So you've already refilled.
How many fights are you having?
That's what I'm saying. Depends on the table that you're at.
If I'm at 0, I'm really pushing for. If I've used heightened metabolism, I'm pushing for a short rest. Don't worry, man. You're gonna go into this next fight with 4 DP. And
you can only Stunning Strike one time. What do you want the rest of those points for?
It means nothing. It's nothing. It's 4 at that point. If you are actually burning through, and you're telling me you've potentially burned through 30 because you've already used your heightened metabolism.
That's what I'm saying. This is a last ditch effort. You're all like, are we finally get to rest? And the DM's all like, I hear a goblin coming around the corner.
This is the absolute...
And then you're all like, at least I've got 4 points.
The absolute minimum. You're talking like wizards and stuff are getting like wish around here and stuff like that. And you're like, don't worry, guys. I got a couple of hits left in me.
I can step of the wind out of this. We're good.
Yep. Nope. I hate it. Man. 18th level, you get superior defense. As a bonus action, you can spend 3 DP, so the majority of the ones you just got back.
Yeah.
To perfectly bolster yourself against harm for 1 minute, unless you're incapacitated. Neat. During that time, you have resistance to all damage types except force damage, ironically. That's cool.
Other monks are still going to punch you.
Half damage, except from force damage. That's neat. I like that one. At 20... Defy Death. If you drop to 0 hit points, you can spend 4 discipline points. So all 4 you just got back. Roll 4 martial arts dice and add the dice together. Your number of hit points, because at this point your martial arts die would be a d12, so you're rolling 4 d12. Your number of hit points instead changes to the total rolled. That's neat. Each time you use this feature after the first, your discipline point cost increases by 2. When you finish short rest or long rest, the discipline point cost resets to 4. This one I like. It just depends how fast you're burning through your DP.
Yeah, it's really going to depend on where you're at on that. I think it's a good level 20 ability because it's replacing essentially your perfect discipline, the one we were talking about at level 15.
Yeah.
So that used to be the capstone, right? So that was your level 20.
Garbage.
So that was your level 20 ability, which at level 20 was 100% garbage. At least at level 15 now, it's not as garbage, but it's, still not great.
No.
I think this is a better replacement for a level 20 ability.
For sure.
For sure. I just question how often you're actually going to be able to use that. I mean, you're 4 key points right there, or discipline points at that point, and then you're going at 6 the next time you have to do it.
Yeah.
So like you're not going to be able to overuse this. It's not going to make you an infinite stand up kind of guy.
No, this is the Captain America. I can do this all day, but it also means that you either purposely didn't use
bank those points
the whole fight, or you got surprise schmacked by something big that hurt a lot. And you were like, oh, good thing I have this ability in my back pocket.
Yeah. It is level 20, though. How often is this really going to see play?
Yeah.
I mean, like, look at something like, orcs that are too angry to die.
Right.
That is much earlier and a lot easier to access than this, which is going to be level 20, which, let's face it, 90% of the players are never going to touch.
Right. And like you said, I like it, but is what it is. Now, do you still want to try going through the subclasses today?
Yeah, I think we have. This might be slightly longer than an average episode if we touch the subclasses, but I think it's pretty important that we touch the subclasses on this.
I agree too.
Because this is the part of the UA where things start to look up for the most part, which is the new revamped subclasses. We have Warrior of Shadow, we have Warrior of Elements, and we have the Open Palm.
Right, and Richard may
hand technique. Sorry,
Richard may have already mentioned it, but the terminology here has changed from way of to warrior of. So yet again, kind of just some changing up our wording, be a little more PC, which totally fine. Let's start really quick with the Way of Shadow, right?
Warrior of Shadow.
Oh, yes, I'm already messing up. So the Warrior of Shadow at 3rd level. Oh god, I'm just so glad these subclasses are good. And not to say they're perfect, but after leaving the monk base, it's like the glimmer of hope. 3rd level from the Warrior of Shadow, you're looking at Shadow Arts. I just gonna go ahead and say I love this already. I know you have words, so I'm gonna read it really quickly so you can say what you gotta say. But you gain the ability to spend 1 DP to cast the darkness spell without any spell components. Awesome. You can see within the spell's area when you cast it with this feature. Even better. While the spell persists, you can move its area of darkness to a space within 60 feet of you at the start of each of your turns. You are not having to spend a bonus action. You're not having to spend your action. You're not having to spend a DP again. You just do it at the start of your turn, up to 60 feet from you. Anywhere. That's awesome. Just pop, 6 feet back and forth, wherever you want. Also, dark vision. You gain dark vision out to 60 feet. If you already have dark vision, it's increased by an additional 60 feet. Also, shadowy figments. You know the minor illusion cantrip and use wisdom as the spellcasting ability for it. I like this quite a bit. Richard, ruin it.
So I'm not going to ruin it. I actually think it looks kind of fun on paper. But I just have some PTSD when it comes to darkness and not being able to see in it. Having been the player in a recent campaign where we had a character that was built just around this, creating spheres of darkness that only he could see in, that the rest of the party could not see in. And oh man, was it tough. It made combats incredibly difficult for everybody else but him.
He did like
And-
to place them wherever you were.
Yes, and it was, I mean, it made for interesting combats, let me tell you. It really, really made for interesting combats, but it definitely was a hindrance to the rest of the party. Now, I can see that this is better. Obviously, you can move it around and everything like that, so that makes it a little bit easier on everything. I don't know how to make it better. I don't know how to make it better for your party, because it's good for you and your little enclosed area where you're fighting in, but it's bad for everybody else. So I think it's a little bit hard to work around this ability.
My thing here is that it depends on the monk in your party. If they are a team player outright, then they're probably not going to throw it on you unless it's to protect you. Like, oh crap, you're close to going down. I'm going to throw this on you. Run towards my voice. Like, run this direction. I'll help guide you out. It's going to give the enemies disadvantage on hitting you.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And at the start of the turn, they can move it. Now, ideally, this is the scenario where the party maybe splits and they're fighting, a couple people over here, and the monk is soloing people.
Yeah,
on the
that's
other
how
side
I
of the
see
room
it being used.
because they're running over here, fighting a couple people, and or soloing and just like throwing it down. They're good to go. They've got advantage on these attacks. Enemies have disadvantage and everything. They're just going to town, and then they move it to their next combatant, not blinding their party member, hopefully. Yeah. But this depends. It depends entirely on the player. Now, considering the majority of the subclass involves this feature, let's just hope you don't have one of these Warrior of Shadow monks in your party that is going to screw everyone over, because that'll snowball poorly.
Yeah, and I can see myself playing this class because I can see a lot of fun scenarios to use it, like exactly what you're thinking, which is basically running around the room with a ball of darkness and using it to my advantage. I have trust issues.
Yeah, I mean, even role play, like you're running through, running across the field, and there's a row of archers taking pot shots at your party, and you have the rest of the party like link hands with you, and you're like, guys, just grab hands and run, follow me. Yeah. And you're just continuously moving this darkness over your party as you're running across the field, giving everyone else the disadvantage to hit you as you go. And that's fun too, just this like roaming ball of shadow. That's neat as heck. At 6th level, we're looking at Shadow Step. While entirely within dim light or darkness, you can use a bonus action to teleport up to 60 feet to an unoccupied space you can see that is also in dim light or darkness. You then have advantage on the next melee attack you make before the end of the turn.
That's amazing.
It's so fun.
That's so good.
You just look over there. It's kind of dark. You're like, boop. If you put your little ball over there and you're somewhere else that's kind of dim or dark, you boop to your ball. That's cool.
That's so cool. I love
and
it.
As soon as you get there, advantage on your next melee attack. God, it's so fun. 11, improve Shadow Step. You can draw on your connection to the shadow to empower teleportation. When you use your Shadow Step, you spend 1 DP to remove the requirement that you must start and end in dim or darkness for the use of this feature. As part of this bonus action, you can make an unarmed strike immediately after the teleportation. So actually, that was a good thing to point out. With the original Shadow Step, you're not spending a DP. You're just using your bonus action to do this.
Yeah, bonus action, yeah.
And you get advantage on that attack. Awesome. Now, at level 11, sure, you're using a DP, but with that, you're teleporting to an area. It doesn't have to be shadowy. You're getting there. You're immediately you're immediately making an unarmed attack for free, and that unarmed strike has advantage.
Yeah.
So you just 1 DP, you teleport 60 feet, hit somebody with advantage, and still have your action.
Yeah, and this is all coming at sub-level 12, which is still high level, but an attainable high level.
This is
to have fun with.
Curse of Strahd, we're playing it right now. This is absolutely a level that you could obtain in that campaign, or a lot of campaigns.
Yeah, that's
awesome. You'll actually see play from this. I love this so far. 17th level, Cloak of Shadows. This is getting higher up there, but there's got to be higher up stuff. As a bonus action, while entirely within the dim light or darkness, you can spend 3 DP to shroud yourself with magical darkness for 1 minute until you have any catastrophic condition or until you end your turn in bright light. Or shrouded in darkness, you gain the following benefits. Invisibility, you're just invisible. Partially incorporeal, you can move through creatures and objects as if it were difficult terrain, but you take 1d10 force damage if you end your turn inside of a creature or an object. Shadow Flurry. You can use your flurry of blows without expending any discipline points. All right. That's where it gets fun to me.
So this ability was kind of sort of already a monk ability previously with Empty Body. So you were allowed to, this was at level 18, I think, instead of 17. So you were able to go invisible for the cost of, I think it was 4 key points.
Just better all around.
Now it's better, right? And then you also got Astral Projection. And then also, I think you were... I think you had resistance to multiple damage types, but I don't remember all of them off the top of my head. So this is kind of like that ability, but geared towards the Warrior of the Shadow. I don't mind them taking it away from just regular monks.
Yeah.
And giving it specifically to this, because I think it flavors into this much more than it did into just a monk being able to just turn invisible.
It fits this very well.
It fits this variant of the monk better, I think. So I'm okay with it being over here.
And it's a minute of just flurry blowing all the time.
Yes.
Just bah, 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 bah.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yep. Now, well, really quick, anything else you want to say about the Warrior of Shadow?
No, like I said, I do like it. I think it's enjoyable, but my trust issues make me wary of it.
You want to be the Warrior of
I
Shadow.
want to be the Warrior of Shadow. I don't
one.
want to be in the party with the
see.
Warrior of Shadow. I trust me.
Right.
I trust me.
It's I think it's really fun because every single ability here is coherent and it connects and builds towards a character.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. Nothing feels out of place.
No, it's all very neatly wrapped up in a very appealing package, which is great. I think it's an awesome looking subclass, and I want to play one.
Yeah. Now, off to the Warrior of Elements really quick. Well, I say really quick. We'll see when we get through it. This is the subclass that I think people were looking for in this UA. And between the Stunning Strike being nerfed, after everyone was upset about that, even though we saw coming, or should have, everyone jumps down to this to say, okay, did they at least get the Warrior of Elements right?
Yeah.
And I think they did.
Yes, this is a very interesting looking subclass.
Yeah. You want to work us through it? Starting at level 3?
So starting at level 3, you have your elemental attunement. So you've attuned yourself with the elemental forces of the multiverse. You know, the elementalism cantrip, which is the one that we covered in the last. So it's that new cantrip that covers all of the small element features.
It's your gust.
So yeah, it's your
flame, stuff like that.
Yeah, so it's really cool. I think I like it wrapped up so you don't have to pick which one you're going to take, and I think it fits perfectly in here. So it fits right with this one. In addition, at the start of your turn, you can spend a discipline point to imbue yourself with an elemental energy. So it lasts for 10 minutes or until you're incapacitated, and you gain the following benefits from it.
Now I love, because the one discipline point at the start of your turn, that's where I was like, oh, this is going to go quick. 10 minutes. All right, now you've got me. This is, if it's going to work for 10 minutes, it's probably going to last me the whole combat, maybe even beyond.
Yeah, no, it's going to last you plenty.
I'm going to use it.
It's going to last you plenty. But what you're getting here is your elemental strikes. So whenever you hit anybody with an unarmed strike, you choose your damage type that you want to do, right? So your acid, your cold, your fire, your lightning, rather than your normal damage type. Now, here's where it gets really, really interesting on this elemental strikes. When you deal one of these types of damage with your unarmed strike, you can force the target to make a strength saving throw. On a failed save, you can move the target up to 10 feet toward or away from you, right? So this is Street Fighter juggling, right? Because I'm going to come up to you and I'm going to unarmed strike you, punch you, force your strength saving throw, and I'm going to send you 10 feet in the air, right? That's away from me. I'm going to send you up.
I'm waiting on the clarification from them about this, because I've heard other people mention this as well. I don't think that's intentional. I think they mean away in the sense that
away from me.
When I say away from you,
that's away from me.
The way you're thinking, not critically thinking, but thinking, and then toward. When I say away and toward, you're not thinking up and down.
We need a judgment call on this.
And I think they're going to have to word it better. I don't think they intend on you getting extra bludgeoning damage every round.
Okay, but hear me out. It's only what, 1d6?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yes.
Now,
when
granted,
your unarmed strike.
this is at 3rd level, right? But we have to remember that our unarmed strike D6 unarmed strike didn't get that much better. It got marginally better, but averages out to not be that much. I don't think the 1d6 bludgeoning extra is that big of a deal. I don't know. We'll see. But it is an interesting idea, I think. And
it's totally.
I love it. I love the visual of it too, right? I'm going to punch you with this force of earth that like this massive uppercut. And I'm just going to like, rocks are just going to fly up around you as you go up into the air, or a swirling, like fire tornado that takes you up into the air and then you fall down to earth. I think is really, really cool. But I guess we'll see if they make a change to it.
I don't see a world where they leave it. I just don't.
Now, it wouldn't be as bad if the next thing wasn't reach, which
reach is where it gets nuts.
Is where it gets
part
really
of the same
nuts.
Ability.
Because part of the same ability, your unarmed strikes now reach is 10 feet greater than normal.
Looking at you, bugbears.
So this elemental warrior bugbear with reach who can uppercut you into the stratosphere to take the extra bludgeoning damage.
20-something feet.
Okay, maybe it's getting a little weird. But, I mean, considering the way they nerf the rest of the class, is it that overpowered?
It's just funky. And I think when you get funky, you potentially lose the fun. I know.
This sounds fun.
I know it sounds fun in the moment, but is this one of those too much of a good thing?
Yeah.
Where after a while, everyone's like, here he goes again.
Here he goes again.
There goes old Dante juggling again.
I'm going to see if I can get him on the roof this time, you guys. Because I'm going to go 20 feet up, then we're going to go 10 feet out.
Right. Yep.
So, yeah, no. We'll see. But it is quite interesting.
We kind of joked around with it because we tied it into the element strike and the idea of pushing someone up. The idea of pushing someone 10 feet, backward or away from you or towards you, I think is really fun. Just the idea that you're controlling this elemental damage.
Oh yeah,
and pushing and pulling.
Yeah.
And then the fact that with the reach, your fists are actually, you're like, your avatar airbending, firebending, whatever. You're pop pop. And you're like actually shooting the energy forward. That's really fun.
No, I think this is amazing because you walk up and you've got the enemy is now up in your cleric's face or your druid's face and they're holding him down and you just reach out, punch him, and suck him back into your
it's so cool
sphere and out of the way of your cleric or your
and
healer,
at that point, does your cleric get an attack of opportunity?
I don't think so. Maybe. I don't know. But that's how I see it being used, and I think it's pretty interesting. Level 6, you get environmental burst. So as a magic action, you can spend 2 discipline points to cause an environmental energy burst in a 20-foot radius sphere centered on a point within 120 feet of yourself.
This is Monk's first fireball.
So Monk's first AoE. So you get to drop it, and it's not just a fireball. You can make it acid, cold, fire, lightning.
Oh yeah, it's a weaker fireball.
It's really cool. So they're doing a dex saving throw. On a failed save, they're taking up to 3 rolls of your martial arts die. On a successful save, they'll take half of that. Now, before you do this, you can make 1 armor strike as a bonus action too. So it's even better.
No, this is great. This is really fun.
Yeah,
being able to switch the
really,
element.
really cool.
God, it's so cool. At 11th level, we're looking at Stride of the Elements. This is where I mentioned earlier, your Step of the Wind's getting it even wilder, and it's like, all right, what angle are we trying to make this character play at? When you use your Step of the Wind, you gain a fly speed and swim speed equal to your speed for 10 minutes. So you can Step of the Wind, fly or swim.
Yeah.
10 minutes. Is your speed. Now, the 17th ties in this too, so I'm just going to step on that really quick. When you use you get an ability called, at 17th level, called Elemental Epitome. When using that, you gain the following. Damage resistance. You gain resistance to one of the following damage types of your choice: acid, cold, fire, lightning, at the start of each of your turns, and you can change that choice. So at the start of each of your turns, you can change the damage resistance.
Change your resistances.
Neat. Here we go. Destructive Stride. When you use your Step of the Wind, your speed increases by 20 feet until the end of the turn. For that duration, any creature of your choice takes damage equal to 1 roll of your martial arts die when you enter a space within 5 feet of them. The damage is the same type as what you chose for the damage resistance, and a creature can take this damage only once per turn. So it stops you from just running back and forth pew, 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 and hitting them over and over again. But, okay, now your Step of the Wind is damaging people. And then Empowered strikes. Once on each of your turns, you can deal extra damage to a target equal to 1 roll of your martial arts die when you hit with an unarmed strike. The damage is the same type you chose as the feature's damage resistance. That's a lot from one level.
Yeah, that's really cool though, because like essentially what you're doing is you are able to, be there, you're doing your unarmed strike, you're doing your attack, and then you can step of the wind and run over to another target or run across the field, all the while
you could fly, you could
flying.
swim.
Yeah, all the while dealing damage as you go to everybody that you run by.
Yeah.
Just because you're lighting the ground on fire.
You're literally a bolt
static
of lightning.
Electricity is flying off of you. Yeah, it's super cool and kind of like epic.
It's so wild.
Watching you run around the field like the Flash.
And then when you finally get there, you get this one unarmed strike there that also does the same damage you were just like letting fly off your body.
Yeah, I don't know how anybody could look at Warrior of the Elements and be disappointed in it in its current state, because
it's neat.
It is a very, very cool subclass. I don't know if it's what people wanted as far as like the Avatar Airbender.
Yes, no, 100%.
Kind of a thing.
I think you nailed what will be the biggest gripe people give is they want their 4 elements.
Yeah.
They want to be the Avatar. Well, guess what, guys? There's an Avatar role-playing game. You can get that, and there you go. Also, there's plenty of wonderful homebrew supplements that you can get, and that straight up either turn the current version of 4 elements monk into the Avatar.
The Avatar, yeah.
Or, this Warrior of the Elements is its own new thing, and wow, is it cool.
It's great.
So believe me, I understand if you want to live out your Avatar fantasy, you could still do that. You're not wrong. You are good to go. Good for takeoff. Fire away. But please just take a moment and just appreciate this for what it is, because it's awesome. Warrior of the Hand.
Yep. So now we have Warrior of the Hand,
Last but not least.
Which is one that did take a little bit of a hit for one of its abilities, but overall I think is still a really good and viable subclass. We have 3rd level open hand technique. Whenever you hit a creature with one of the attacks granted by your Fury of Blows, you can impose one of the following effects on a target. So that's Addle, which allows them to not make reactions. Push, so they have to the same saving throw will be pushed 15 away from yourself. Topple, which is a dexterity saving throw, which puts it into the prone condition. So this is really good. It requires a saving throw for all 3 effects now, not just 2 of them. So it's really good. Level 6, we now have Wholeness of Body.
Well, we skipped over something.
Oh, shoot.
So this is you don't need to use the DP for this.
No, yeah, you don't need to use the DP for this.
And it's when you hit a creature with one of the attacks granted by your Flurry of Blows. You get multiple attacks from that.
Yes.
So if you hit multiple enemies even, well, you could shove both of them away in different directions. You could shove one away and knock the other one down.
Yeah, knock the other one down.
You've got some flexibility with this that is really fun and does lean into the monk flavor.
Yes, yeah, it very much feels monkey.
Yeah.
Right? If you have multiple targets around you and you're just popping one away, popping one to the ground.
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, level 6.
You get Wholeness of Body, so you gain the ability to heal yourself. As a bonus action, you could spend 1 discipline point to roll your martial arts die, and you regain a number of hit points equal to that number, plus your wisdom modifier. You can also use this feature a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier, and you regain it at your long rest.
I do like this. I don't know if it's enough.
Yes, that's the thing, is that we've already touched on the not having a lot of hit points. Yeah.
Where it gets funky, right, is you've got the metabolism feature that at 7th level. So 1 level higher than this, and you can just straight up take a short rest.
Yeah.
In a short time. And that gives you back health, and it gives you back your discipline points. And yeah, it's once a day, and this is, as many times in a day as your wisdom modifier. But I don't know. I don't think this is bad by any means.
It's not bad, but still being a level 6 ability and not having a lot of discipline points to deal with.
I think this would go from okay to great if you didn't have to use discipline point.
Yes.
You're still limited,
Yeah.
by your discipline, or by your how many what your wisdom modifier.
Yeah, your
is.
wisdom modifiers tell you how many times you can use it. Yeah.
But you look at a paladin, where you've got 5 times your paladin level in lay on hands. Okay, well, we're looking at, what is this, level 6? So 30 points of healing. You could do it any time to you or others, and you choose the amount. Now this, you're rolling a die. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that the level is too high on it, which also brings me to the next thing on the list, which is level 11, Fleet Step. So basically, all it is free Step of the Wind, right? Woo! So you don't have to use your discipline point for it. Cool, I like it. I think it's too high at level 11. Because at level 11, now we're getting to the point where it doesn't really matter anyway, because you are having more discipline points, so it's not as tough of a management thing. I think that Warrior of the Hand, you take Wholeness of the Body and lower its level, or remove that cap from it. You take Fleet Step and you lower its level too. Like, I think that would be way more useful earlier on at like level 6. I mean, you look at some of the other subclasses, like the Warrior of the Elements, what you're able to do at level 6 versus the open hand is drastic. Like, this feels weaker than the other 2 subclasses right off the jump when you read those things in the order at which they're presented.
I think the issue with this ability is that it's just needs to be replaced. If we put this lower,
that's what I mean. If you put that down to level 6 and give us something different at level 11.
Well, my issue is if you make this lower, are you the character that never gets hit? Because it's a disengage and dash when you Step of the Wind. So you're running in, you're getting your punches, and you're gone. Every single turn, this is what you do. You're like, pop, 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 run, pop, 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 run, pop, 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 run. And I'm like, okay, maybe that's too good at early levels. At higher levels, you have more DP. You don't need this for free. I don't know. Like, if you're getting this level 11 anyway, it's an ability you can spend DP on. Sure, you still have the ability. Just give us something else.
Yeah, give us something.
Give us a different level
different
11 ability.
Yeah.
Yes.
At level
Replace
11.
This.
It feels like it's not enough to match the other subclasses and what they're doing.
And I wonder if it's too strong too early.
Yeah, maybe you're right on that. I think I can see where you're coming from on that one. I think that we just need something else. Yeah, we need something else at level 11, not just this. And then finally,
your big one,
Quivering Palm, which I don't know how I feel about this, because basically what's happened here is
let's read it.
Yeah, okay, go ahead, read it.
At 17th level, you get the ability Quivering Palm. You gain the ability to set up a lethal... At 17th level, you get Quivering Palm. You gain the ability to set up lethal vibrations in someone's body. When you hit a creature with an unarmed strike, you can spend 3 discipline points to start these imperceptible vibrations, which last for a number of days equal to your monk level. So, at this point, 17 days?
Yeah, 17 days.
The vibrations are harmless unless you use your action to end them. To do so, you and the target must be on the same plane of existence. When you use this action, the target must make a Constitution saving throw, taking 10d12 plus your monk level of force damage on a failed save, or half as much damage on a successful one. So no matter what, they're taking this something, which it's a good bit of damage even if they succeed. You can have only one creature under the effect of this feature at a time. You can end the vibrations harmlessly without using an action. Before you say what you're going to say, I love the idea of being an asshole monk and using this on someone in your party that you're in a fight with.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, F you in particular.
Yeah, so if you don't know what Quivering Palm was previously, so Quivering Palm previously was pretty much the same. So it required 3 points, so key points instead of decimal points, but it still required the 3 points. It was the same thing. It lasted the same, time and everything like that. You had the Constitution saving throw. But if they failed the Constitution saving throw, it was just reduced to 0 hit points, period. So it was just an instant death, no matter what. So the God Killer, the Dragon Killer, the unassuming party member killer. If it succeeds, it takes 10d10 necrotic damage. So even if you did succeed in the past, you were still taking a hefty amount of damage. So 10d10 necrotic damage. But before, it was just a straight up, you dropped that target down to 0. And I can see why they changed this, because really the only thing that was stopping it from actually happening was the restriction of you and the target having to be on the same plane of existence. So that's really what kept you from killing a god, right? Because you can be like, I quivering palm you, and then they're like, I go to a different plane. And now their vibrations no longer affect them. You can't just drop them right away. And, nobody really was using Quivering Palm 19 days later. They were using this. They were doing the attack and then using it on the next turn immediately to drop their target, just to straight up kill it. But I think that's still really cool flavor to have, like where you can hit somebody with it, like that party member you're having an argument with, and then just like lording it over them for the next week and a half. You're like, I could just kill you any day right now. I can vibrate your brain out of your skull.
No, I feel fine.
Yeah, sure you do. But we'll just see at breakfast tomorrow morning. If you don't give me all your bacon, I will explode your head. But I can see why they made the change. Is it sad? Slightly, yes, because the idea of this like ultimate monk ability, right? So I am changing the vibrations of your body so imperceptibly that I can just instantly kill you, no matter who or what you are, is so powerful. And
of course.
It just makes you so drunk with ideas and possibilities on how you're going to use this. I think it was a little bit much.
I mean, like you said, next turn you just win.
Yeah, next turn you're just dropping the target.
Now, even here though, like for only 3 discipline points,
yeah,
you're talking like if you were like a shadow monk, you're getting some cool abilities for this. But over here, you're doing, next turn you're doing 10d12 plus 17 points damage.
Yeah, that's nothing.
Just on your next turn.
That's not shabby.
And you've already landed at least an unarmed strike on the turn before.
Yeah. So it's nothing to scoff at. It's still incredibly powerful.
And then can you keep doing this?
Yeah, I mean,
next
as long as you have
3?
Yeah, as long as you have the discipline points,
That's
you can
so much damage.
Quivering palm them again, which you pretty much going to have to if they have a bunch of hit points. Because that's the thing, is that it went from a boss dropper to a boss like really hurting her.
Yeah, and then
like
the only way this, because I don't understand how this isn't like you can only use this feature once per long rest.
Once per long rest, yeah.
I don't understand how it's not that.
Yeah, and actually the old one wasn't either that way either. So it was 3 key points, and you could just keep dropping bosses. Like, how many dragons you got? We're going to Quivering Palm all 3 of them.
It's wild.
Yeah, I think that it's good. I think that if I were going to change it slightly, I would increase the damage.
Really?
Hear me out. Increase the damage.
Wow.
Cap it once per long rest.
I have trouble agreeing with the first half of that, just because it is already, what are we looking at? Potentially
10d12.
120 plus 17. We're looking at 137 damage.
At level 17, though.
In action.
Yeah, at level 7. That's why I'm saying we cap it at 1 per go. So now
Definitely.
It's not a god killer. Right, you're not dropping anything no matter what.
But you're looking at like Killing Word and stuff where 100 or less and they die outright.
Yeah.
This could absolutely do that also as like the setup of knock them down. This is part 2 of your attack.
Yeah, true, but you have to think at level 17, you're burning through key points probably faster than somebody with spell slots.
Maybe.
With power word
kill. You got 17 points at this point, and are you just at this point saving them for this ability?
Well, that's what I mean. I guess if you're saving them, which makes me think that it still needs that cap of once per day.
That's
because if you're saving them, now look at it. Like, how many times are you going to hit this Quivering Palm? Every single round, you're going to Quivering Palm and then drop them, and Quivering Palm and then drop them.
I guess
you're back into God killer.
I guess I would either cap it at once a day or increase how many DP were required to pull this off.
Yeah. So maybe that's the answer. You increase the number of DP, you increase the damage slightly, and you cap it at once per day. And when I say increase the damage, I'm not talking about like make it 20 d12. I'm talking about like 12 d12 instead of 10.
I can see 12.
Yeah, I'm not talking about going crazy with it. I'm talking about slightly increasing it, 12 d12, so 2 more d12s, capping it at once per day, make it 4 discipline points.
It's also the fact that's wild to me that like it's after you've already hit. Once you hit, you spend 3, and it's happened. They're taking at minimum half damage.
At minimum, they're taking half damage.
Because you landed an unarmed strike.
Which you're going to do.
Which is nuts.
Yeah, you're going to do with flurry of blows and everything like that. So you're going to be spending those blows to do this.
The fact that it's only 3, it's not, I mean, stunning strike is blow, a point to attempt to stun.
Yeah.
This isn't 3 to attempt, which even then I could see. Blow 3 to attempt to quivering palm. Mm-hmm. It's not that.
Yeah.
Wild.
Now, where this gets super cool is like this is like super epic like monk looks, right? You have a boss with his like 2 henchmen right there. So you're walking up, right? And you're attacking with your unarmed strike. You're doing flurry of blows. You're knocking one of them back 15 feet. You're dropping the other one to the ground, and then you open palm quivering the boss.
Yeah.
And then do 10 d12 necrotic damage.
God, it's so cool.
This is just like peak action movie monk right there.
Yeah.
Which I think is really cool.
No, it's really neat.
I do like it. I would want to play this class. Yeah. I want to see some slight changes to it, but I do still want to play the subclass.
I'll say I like it, but I would play both the other.
Oh yeah, for sure.
First.
I think I would choose darkness.
To be fair, I think speaks very highly for these subclasses.
Yeah, no.
That we would play any of these 3 as is. But tweaks are even better.
Yeah, tweaks are even better.
This is the one that I think needs the most tweaks.
And I think that this actually speaks to the whole UA as a whole, because to kind of wrap up the night and wrap up what we think about monks is that this is a step in the right direction, especially when you look at the subclasses. Yeah. So when you look at everything as a whole and you look at the subclasses that we're presented with here, this is something that I would play.
Absolutely.
So I would take this UA and play a monk in its current state right now. Do I think it's going to be perfect? No, not by any means. But do I think it's going to be fun and better than monk currently? Yes, it is marginally beating out current monk. But I still think that even with everything as it is with the subclasses where they are here, monks at lower levels are still not able to keep up in the race with everybody else.
I agree. It needs tweaks. And to be fair, every other class has been tweaked at least once in the UA. This is Monk's first time out swinging. Yep. And they're going to make changes. It's going to happen. We've seen, they've proven to us that they're willing to make changes, drastic changes even. So, I mean, look at the Druid. And so I'm waiting to see what they come back at us in a couple months. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm hopeful, to say the least.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm hopeful to see where this is going. Not the reset we were all hoped for, but I think they're going in the right direction, and I really, really hope they keep with that stride.
Yeah. These subclasses they're great.
Yeah.
It's just we need some good tweaks on the base class.
I need tweaks to my drunken monks. They're not good enough.
Do you think we're getting Drunken Monk in the player's handbook?
I would hope. I was so sad when it wasn't here. I really wanted to see it. That's a subclass that I want to play so bad, but does not really see its stride until at least level 6. Mm-hmm. And even then you need to go higher to really see that subclass really hit its stride. And I would love to see it done better than it is. I don't think we're going to see it in the UA. I don't think we're going to see it in the player's handbook.
Well, we'll see it one day, probably.
Yeah.
But for now, I've been Tyler.
And I've been Richard.
And we've been True Strike. Hey, adventurers. Thanks again for joining us today. Please be sure to give us a follow on your favorite podcasting platforms and YouTube. If there's any questions you'd like to write into the show, you can hit us up on Twitter or Instagram. New episodes release every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for listening to True Strike. Hello, adventurers. My name's Tyler.
And I'm Richard.
On today's episode, we're diving fist first.
Just read it. You didn't read it before you read it?
I know. I never do. Unless I write it. Hello, adventurers. My name's Tyler.
And I'm Richard.
On today's episode, we're diving fist first into changes. so stupid.
Yeah, but it's so stupid. It's good.
Make a monk from the recent release. Wait.